Welcome back, everyone, to episode 4, I believe, of the podcast. Excited to have everyone back and lots of big updates. I'm going to throw it to Tristan here real quick, man, but just a whole lot of fun doing these so far, and I know we've got several subjects that we're going to get to today, but what are we going to cover, man?
Yeah,
we got several things on the roster.
A lot of exciting things coming, deadlines getting closer, things coming up with build out and stuff like that. So what we're going to dive into today and cover is going to be where we are right now, kind of what kind of things are going on in the background, just an overall update of everything we've got going on with the business, and then we actually are going to dive into a little Q&A. We put a post out on Instagram recently about some questions that were coming from the audience. We're going to reach out to all those people and answer those questions individually, but we wanted to shout a few of those out here on the podcast. Good material, relevant to everybody, questions that other people might have, so we'll tie all those back in. Also wanted to say the last podcast, the Rachel Goins podcast, has been exponential. I mean, just more than we ever could imagine with the response on that. So much positive response. We can't thank her enough for doing that and allowing us to be a part of that, and telling her story. Just if you haven't watched that yet, go back. Everyone can benefit from that. It's a great story. If nothing else, you'll just get a good story out of it and get uplifted from that. It's really good. Go back, watch that, and thank you again to her for allowing us to be a part of that. That was huge. It was
awesome. And just to throw it out there again, hashtag hustle for happy. That I've got to dig into a little bit more now, and it's really, really awesome. And the feedback from her community has been pretty cool. I mean,
Absolutely.
Getting on there, and she's putting up workouts and stuff, and food. I love the food stuff too, man, by the way. It's just awesome.
It's really cool. She just talks about what she's doing, and
Yep.
it's awesome. We've been talking about some macros and different kind of stuff on the side, but yeah, it's a lot of fun and really cool piece what she's doing, and hope she continues to grow and see success with that, because it's been really good for everybody that's gotten involved.
Agreed.
Awesome. So the things that we've kind of got going on right now, kind of where we're at with this whole timeline. Next week we start the build out on the space. So we're going to have about a month, a short month, February being the shortest month of the year, to get everything remodeled, finished up, painted, dressed up, everything we're going to do from that piece. We've got equipment coming in from X-Training equipment on the 15th. We'll be building the pull-up rig. We'll be assembling rowers and boxes, and building the front desk and just kind of doing all that stuff over the course of the next month. We're going to continue to put out the podcast and the at-home workouts until we open, have that content available for everybody out there. The podcast obviously will continue. The at-home workouts will back off a little bit once we've got product available throughout the facility. But you've got a ton of stuff going on with media, website. I mean, you have just been putting in all the hours with that kind of stuff. So you want to talk to that piece?
For sure. So we're live on, I believe, 7 different platforms right now. So, and that includes Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I'm actually posting some of that stuff. Some of it's replicated info. Just, again, putting things out there. However people want to consume it, we want to try to have it on that platform for them. SoundCloud and Apple Podcast for both of those, which this kind of stuff gets streamed on, and hopefully in the future we can, gosh, I listen to more podcasts than I watch TV these days, or even YouTube or things like that. So even more availability for some of our other content, even outside of scheduled podcasts, be available on Apple and SoundCloud. So all those are linked up. A big release that we have coming up is the website too. So the website is, kind of in that test stage, and some of the things that we've got going on there and how we're communicating with some other systems, more of how, setting up a gym, some things that we're doing there to make that work well. But it's really, we want it to be functional. So you'll have links to, kind of programming, pricing, all of that. Plus, easy ways to get to our other media through the website as well. So we're working really hard to get that. And actually, we're hoping, by the time you see this podcast, at the end of that week, we'll have, we should have that ready to go. We may get into this more later. The idea is we'll have all those things up when we do open up for early signups, which we'll get into.
Absolutely. So we also have already shot, it's probably being edited, kind kind of a tie-in video to that website release of just kind of a brief, it's a couple-minute video. It's not a full podcast episode, just a few-minute video tying in kind of what our programs and pricing look like. Yep. It's all available on the website once the website goes live, but we just kind of wanted to talk to that piece and kind of explain everything out, kind of where our thoughts were. Obviously, when that releases, questions, comments, concerns can come through any format. Like I said, we're on 7 different platforms. There's an email link on the website. All that will be available. You guys can message us at any time, any questions, anything that comes up. And then we even, like I said, we made a post the other day just asking for questions, kind of wanting feedback on where people are at and what people are thinking, just so that our content is flowing the right way with what people are looking for or questions people might have.
And something I'll add in as we're getting set to kind of shift gears here, I want to leave it completely open. We said early on is we are not romantic about any platform at all. Mm-hmm. If there's something else out there that our community likes or uses that we're not, putting content on, we want to try to do that. So again, we open it up for feedback a lot, but that would be one. If something is out there that we could put something out there on, today with technology, it's pretty easy for us to be able to make that work.
Sure. So. Absolutely. Other note that I have with the pre-sale signups, our goal is to get that going as of the 1st of February. We've got a lot of things kind of happening around that date. That is our goal. We hope to have that done, but obviously as close to that date as physically possible, we will have pre-sale signups available via our website. You're going to learn more about how we are going to onboard our members. You're going to learn more about our intro classes for people new to CrossFit and kind of what that process looks like. And that will be kind of a limited availability position or spot. We'll have about 20 athletes per week running through beginners courses. We'll talk more to that within those videos and things, but that's something to kind of be looking out for. We'll start doing pre-sale signups on that type of stuff as close to the beginning of February as humanly possible. Yep. That's something that we definitely got as a goal. One other cool thing, less important but still fun, everybody loves a t-shirt. You've seen a couple of our t-shirts. We've made a couple of posts. We've got some videos out with these new t-shirts on them. This is our first design. We got 2 colors of it right now. We got a green and a black. We have those on order. We're getting those printed as we speak, working through that process. We'll try to have those available on the website for pre-sale as well, and try to have enough quantities of those that when we get to our grand opening event, which is something we're going to talk to as well, that we will have enough available that if the first time you ever see us is on that grand opening event, that you'll be able to purchase one that day as well.
Absolutely.
We'll have pre-sale on the website coming up very, very soon with that. Again, to that piece, grand opening event planning, that is still going on. We're still trying to tie all those pieces together, figure out our plan and scope on that. So we'll be looking for event announcements on Facebook that will also contain links to go ahead and sign up, tell us you're coming, fill out your waiver, have all that process done so that when you show up the day of the event, you're ready to go. If you're participating in the workout, you can go ahead and jump in. If you're just coming to spectate and check it out and see what it's all about, we're going to have kind of an open house. We're going to figure out how many workouts we're going to do that day. We're really just going to plan it based on how the pre-sale goes and kind of tie it into to what it needs to be, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, March 2nd is that grand opening day. So everything looks to be going to plan at this point, and we really think that's going to happen. No reason not to at this point. So we're really excited about that March 2nd date. February will really be for us from a gym side is getting that one-on-one interaction, really going with people that are interested, people that may be on the fence, or folks that are just ready to go right now. Because we want to make sure that, by the time we get there with the early signups, that we've got enough space for the folks that are coming in and doing those. But lots more information to come out. So just kind of be hanging on, looking at some of the things. I'm really excited to see, Tristan's leading the build out process for us of the gym and like all of that stuff. He's been doing an excellent job with so far, but I'm excited to kind of see some of that media in February as well, right? So as we're leading up to that, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to hop in and catch up with where we're at in that whole process. And we're looking to have a pretty fun event, man. We got some things on the list right now we can't quite release yet until we get full commitments, but we're pretty excited to make that a unique and fun experience, family experience for folks to swing in and have a really good time. So
on that piece as well, once we've got the build out happening. It is my goal to post as much content about the build out as possible. Probably won't be anything, super fancy, but I mean, if it's an Instagram story, a Facebook story, just, a simple post about things we've got going on, walls coming down, lights going up, whatever's happening. I'm gonna try to post something every day, kind of keeping everybody up to date, build the excitement about what's going on with the build out. We are beyond excited to finally be done planning and put feet to pavement, so to speak, on this thing. And all this back end stuff is all necessary and stuff that needs to be done and stuff we're excited about doing, but it's gonna become really real when we open up that door and start building out the space.
We've obviously excited and have been dying to get to this point for a long time. So, but yeah, it's going to be cool just to kind of bring everybody along during that process. I think setting it up, seeing how the gym, opening up for feedback. I mean, the cool thing I think with you leading this for our team is that we've got that opportunity to go out there and get feedback from the community as we're building and as we're going along. So like it may have some impact on how we set things up or do things in and around the gym. It kind of links into the feedback that we got on the shirts. Military shirts are obviously the most
Army Green's in. Army Green is in. Absolutely.
So like we want to try to leverage you guys as much as possible, throughout all this kind of stuff. So absolutely. It's good stuff.
And we have help with picking colors. So anybody that knows us personally knows that we are absolutely the worst at picking colors. We do have help on that side. So don't worry. We'll make sure we ask other people on that.
The color blindness that runs in our family.
That runs in our family.
We lean on other folks for that
sure.
kind of stuff.
So we put out a post. We're going to shift gears. We put out a post that was, do you have any questions that are fitness, nutrition, or business related? We got some really good responses on that. We're going to shout a few of those out and talk to those just a little bit briefly. But one question that did not come through that platform, but I have gotten numerous times, it kind of resonated with me this morning. I got it again this morning from a really, really good friend of mine, was, so are you guys doing this full time? Like, what's Dave doing? Are you guys both, like, what's that whole dynamic look like? And I'll let you take that
For sure. The opportunity came up in I think it was more about, where we wanted to be than what we wanted to do. And I'll bring this full circle, but we know we wanted to open a gym like that. That was the passion. We knew where it was, but we had the opportunity where a space had opened up. And again, our partners, I guess, with City Glass and Mirror, who have been fantastic, and opening up their new space, the timing of it and our window to get things done to start a new business. I'll tell you, from our first podcast to this one, my opinion may have even changed. There's a lot of work that goes into that. There's things about setting up a CrossFit gym that is pretty easy, but in general, all the work that goes into that, we had a short window, so we had to decide, okay, do we want to fully commit, try to get things prepared and ready to go into a space in the amount of time that we had to be able to do that. So we did make that decision. That's a question that I think, myself and maybe Lisa have got too, is like, hey, it's committed, but literally within less than, 60 days, going from zero to build out has been a ton of work. So I'll just say that, and I say that for anybody thinking about opening up a gym in our area or any other area that may be able to see this, is that it's a huge commitment, and we ran it really, really close so we could get into a space, but it wouldn't have been possible if we hadn't really committed, you still working a full-time coaching job and doubling up on what you're doing, and then me working full-time was just enough time, I believe, to get everything done that we needed to do and go in with the effectiveness that we wanted to at the beginning, with some of the media and the marketing and things that we're going to need to let people know, what our business is about. So like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. But definitely not a hobby for us. It's not a hobby business. It's not a side job. This is a full commitment into, both being full-time coaches. I'm more on the operations side of the business part, and Tristan is, obviously your lead programmer, lead trainer for the gym. So like those things taken seriously, and really trying to drive our mission of helping as many people in our community and surrounding community as possible through CrossFit it requires us to be there full time, and it's going to take every ounce of what we've got to be able to achieve some of those goals. And I think, we're set up to do that now, and we are absolutely 100% committed to this business as our, sole means of income.
Yeah, and I think the tie in there too is that if you're thinking about starting any form of business, be it a gym or any type of business, and you're going to transition out of the workforce into owning your own business, think about that timeline as well, because there is a ton of stuff that is not revenue generating that has to be done before you're ready to generate a dollar. And that stuff can possibly still be done while you're working your current job. And you can kind of transition that way. If you decide tomorrow that you're gonna start a business, don't quit your job tomorrow unless you've got funding for the next couple of months, because you're going to need that time to get all the legal ends, the insurances, and all the right permits and things that you need to do to operate. It takes time to process all that, especially if you're doing it all yourself and not paying someone else to do it. Obviously, if you've got the capital there to pay somebody else to do it, you can shorten those timelines up a little bit, but it's time versus spending your money. So that's definitely something, a business tie in there is think about that timeline. There's a lot of back-end work.
And here's the other thing. If you don't, we were, the timing for us and why we had to do that was getting into the space that we absolutely were in love with to do that. I think otherwise we would have tried to spread the amount of work we've done in the last, 60 to 90 days. We would have tried to spread that out over the next 12 to 18 months. In the perfect world, right, to get all those things done. So absolutely, I think, and that's how most businesses, I think, start. Was talking to a friend of mine just this week. It's like, you start something usually traditionally, and when it gets too busy for you to do both, that's when you kind of transition. I would definitely recommend, that approach. If it possible, a lot less risk involved with some of those things too. But again, for our timeline, if we were going to make it happen, this was the commitment that we had to make.
This is the route. This is the route we had to go for sure. So the first question that we got in, or the first question that pops up here on the feed, comes from Brianna_White19, and sorry if I butchered that. We're going to reach out and answer these questions individually, but this was a really, really good question and one that we get a ton. And I love this question because there's been such a shift in the whole entire industry of CrossFit of this piece. And the question is CrossFit designed for weightlifting beginners? Absolutely, yes. And this ties back to that whole piece that we talk about, how CrossFit is infinitely scalable. And the image for so long has been the CrossFit Games. That's what you see on ESPN. But if you don't follow CrossFit, just the word CrossFit on Instagram or CrossFit on Facebook or any social media platform, they have completely separated CrossFit and the CrossFit Games. They have made a bold statement to say these are two totally different things. General physical preparedness is CrossFit, which is for everyone. And the CrossFit Games is the professional sport of doing CrossFit for your job, to make money doing this as a sport. And it is two totally different things. And if you've not seen that kind of paradigm shift and the videos that CrossFit's been posting, we've shared one or two of those just about that tie-in of your grandparents, the adaptive athletes, just all these people getting into CrossFit. It is absolutely for beginners. And I made that same kind of tie-in with the Rachel Goins podcast is people think you got to be fit to start CrossFit. But you would never say, well, you need to get sober before you go to a sobriety program. That is where you go to get the help that you need, right? So absolutely, yes, 100%. We can't say it enough times. It is infinitely scalable to any level of fitness, any adaptation, injury, whatever case that you're in.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it was Brianna, right? So just great question there too. And I would encourage anyone to go check out CrossFit.com just to go see what the focus is this year versus last year. If you're brand new, we can just tell you it was a lot different. The video post, the medical journals that are being almost on a daily basis that are being made available for folks that do CrossFit and for anyone. I mean, this is available to anybody to go and research this kind of stuff. But, I'm just pulled up one today. You've got your workout of the day, and then it goes, right into a medical heart study and what actual things are going on. And then you have the L-sit at home, which is a super scaled version of maybe what we were used to before in the L-sit, even from a bar, rings, or off the ground, fingertip, however that is. But like, it'll show you a little bit more from a scalability standpoint what the focus is of CrossFit. And with us being an affiliate, obviously we're going to adopt those things and make sure it's available for everyone. But great question.
To that same piece, we also had a question from Suze Clay 71, kind of the same similar tie-in, and her question was for people who have been workout injured, in quotations, is there a low impact CrossFit? And I think the tie-in here is yes, but that's more of an individual injury type situation, which is something you're going to evaluate at our facility. You're going to evaluate with your coach at entry. The first thing you're going to go through with a coach is to sit down. You're going to talk about goals, where you're trying to get to, your purposes behind why you're doing CrossFit, but also any previous injuries, anything you're working through, what injuries you've had, in the course of your life that could impact what we are doing on a day-to-day basis. If we can get those things figured out, we can start actually trying to strengthen or treat the actual issue versus just treating the symptom. My arm is sore, so I'm going to voodoo band or a cross ball or smash it on a barbell or whatever today. We can actually start trying to figure out what's causing the issue. And we use a ton of resources for this. We're not PT, we are not physical therapists, but we use a ton of resources. The information is out there, it's no secret. I love Squat University, Move You, Smashworks. There's tons of good content out there, YouTube channels, Instagram content and stuff about these different things. And we utilize any and all resources that we can for different testing of injuries and does it hurt when you do this or when you do this, and kind of telling us what we need to do to treat the symptoms, but also to prevent future and maybe strengthen the area that's injured. So long-winded answer to yes, absolutely. If you're talking to your coach, if you have an injury coming in or develop an injury down the road, that's always a risk factor with any fitness regimen. There's always a risk factor of injury. So if you're communicating with that coach and that low back's tight or lit up, and you let that coach know, and we can talk about day to day how you're feeling and where we need to adapt or change for impact. I have athletes that have a lot of ankle pain or shin pain when they run, something we're working on with rehabilitation with voodoo flossing and smashing with a lacrosse ball and trying to get that glide surface working better. But we're also, on days we're running long distances, we're also able to adapt to a different movement, another cardio piece like a row or something to take that high impact running away that's causing the pain for now until we get things, where they need to be.
Absolutely. I think I don't have a ton more to add, just that personally, I think when someone injured, it's probably the most, I think it was Sue, I think it's the most important time to come, because it's an injury or something like that can definitely derail you from working out, but also sometimes those injuries can be worked on inside the gym with things. And just for an example, to keep your body moving, there was a study that we ran across the other day that we were talking about, and some of the CrossFit athletes or professional athletes were talking about, if, for instance, if you have a shoulder injury and we're doing something with dumbbells for the day, maybe you're not going to work that arm for the shoulder, but you can still move the left side of your body. I mean, there were some things they were talking about that just going in and moving what you can move and going through that has benefits for the other side of the body. Once it's either those injuries are repaired or it heals or whatever, there's benefits to actually going into the gym and staying moving. So I would say,
and the risk of imbalance there is really, really low. If you work one side while the other side is healing, really, I mean, the risk of people think you're going to end up with one arm that's this big around and one tiny arm. It's really, the risk of that is really low.
And something that you and I talked about, and I'm really happy. I mean, you've had the experience of, coaching people with some very serious disabilities. Like you're talking about long-term unrepairable disabilities. So like coming in and being able to scale for those types of things and have that person be just as much of a part of the community and part of the workout, really kind of, puts everything under the umbrella that, if you do have an ankle, a knee, a shoulder, an elbow, neck, back, or something that is bothering you, it's important to keep coming in. And again, it'll be scaled to your ability at that point in time. The last piece, we just, coming from the L2, we did an episode on that. I think it was really something we adopted very quickly that I don't know if, as for all CrossFit communities, if we do a great job of it, but I think we're definitely going to put this as part of what we do on a day-to-day basis, that how you were yesterday may be different than what you are today. So when you come in a class, just expect to hear it from, one of our coaches, either Tristan or I, is how are we feeling today? Does anybody have any injuries that's, since you've been in last or whatever that is, to set up to make sure we're good, for those that are, consistently training anyway.
Similar tie-in. I actually had an athlete come into class just yesterday when we were doing snatches and rows and burpees and just all kinds of high-impact stuff. He reaches down to get the barbell and hips are lit up. He's tight in his adductors. He's just not feeling it that day. Ended up adapting a light recovery row and doing some stretching mobility stuff. Talked to him later on, or talked to him the next day, and he said by later that evening he wished he would have come back and done the workout. He felt that much better, but he was just tight. His hips weren't having it, his back wasn't having it. He was just really tight, and really from some higher impact stuff we'd done at the beginning of the week. And it was just that kind of day. And, we just adapted on the fly, did a light recovery row, did some mobilization stuff, did some stretching and things, and really loosened things up and got him back moving well again. And I mean, it's day to day on a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
So similar tie-in, another injury question. Droopy89 asked this question: hip rehab ideas, been fighting with nerve pain for months. I can speak to this. I have hip injury. I have hip problems. My hip problems are not my hips. I have issues with inactive glutes. I've done tons of, hip joint mobilization and all kinds of things. But my problem stems from another area. So what I'm tying back to here is the first thing is evaluation. We need to figure out what's causing the issue and what corrective action we need to take to get that pain to go away. That is your body signaling to you something is wrong. We need to fix that problem. Now, we are not PT, but we are going to use those resources that we spoke to earlier. We're going to reach out. We're going to research. We're going to figure out what tests we need to put you through. We're going to help you through those tests, and then we're going to have the equipment and the facilities available to you and kind of walk you through what type of mobilization or recovery that you need to be doing to strengthen and fix the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to Droopy more one-on-one with exactly what you got going on, because there's some things we might be able to help you with now and at least direct you in the right place to go check that out once we know a little bit more about what kind of issues you're having there. But great question.
So really quick, got another question from Drew Stooksbury. This is another question we're probably going to get a lot, is do you or will you offer a more strength-based program like powerlifting or strongman WODs? Workout of the day, for those who don't know what a WOD is. Yes and no. It's kind of a dual answer there. Yes, we will do strongman type movements. Yes, we will move odd objects. We realize that the world is not made out of barbells that are really nice and convenient to lift. I think odd object training is, number one, some of the most fun. Number two, some of the most useful training that we'll do. Putting an odd object on your shoulder, on your back, picking it up, anything like that. We actually do have a yoke. It's not something we'll probably utilize a lot in a class setting, but we'll have that type of stuff available. But will we bias strength training? Absolutely not. That will not be our program structure. We will follow that hierarchy, that pyramid of CrossFit's methodology as closely as possible. And weightlifting is a higher, less, a smaller piece of that triangle than that nutrition piece, that metabolic conditioning piece, and then it's weightlifting and gymnastics and sport. So it will fall in that hierarchy where it needs to go. We will train strength. We will do relatively heavy weights once technique is in check. But we will not bias to strongman or a strength-based program.
I'll throw something out there and I think you answered it perfectly at the beginning. There's a little bit of yes, a little bit of no in there, that you're going to get a lot of that through CrossFit. If you're looking to specialize in something like that, I think probably one option that I've seen the best improvement of that with, and several gyms out there offer some type of it, but if you're trying to specialize and that's your goal is to, you're trying to get to a 300-pound clean and jerk, right? And that requires moving well, right? For most people, moving well, good techniques. I've seen better movement with that for people's goals inside of personal training, which is something that you could, lean on once you get in, test some classes out, find a coach that and works well. Tristan's a really good, lifter even outside of that. I mean, just in general from the Olympic lifts part, especially around coaching those pieces. So, if that's your goal, I would say the regular CrossFit classes, which are 90% of what we offer or will offer on our schedule, are good. Maybe utilize some of that personal training time if you're wanting to come in and get better in the snatch, the deadlift, any kind of power movements or Olympic lifting movements. Be a good time to come into that. Also, we'll have some, as we figure out a little bit more about what our community needs and wants, utilize some open gym time to come in and work on things like that. I would encourage you, come in, work on Olympic weightlifting movements or powerlifting movements, but also gymnastic movements or things like that, when kind of what open gym's for, to come in and work on some of those weaknesses. And there's times you can utilize to work on those things or even get specialized training on some of that stuff. But the regular CrossFit classes, I don't think, not to start. It's
not going to be a bias for sure.
Yep.
Awesome. So last one I've got, I can't even read this one. Spava 2.
Okay.
I'm just guessing on that completely. Sorry if I butchered that again. Do you recommend a pre-workout or just bring your A game without using anything? Obviously, bring your A game every day. Pre-workout, it's one of those things. Obviously, if you're going to use a pre-workout or some kind of supplement like that, make sure that it's not got more chemicals and byproducts and things you can't pronounce in it than what you're actually getting from it, right? Mm-hmm. Caffeine is really all I would recommend for that. And caffeine is one of those things that is, less, more is not more. There's really like a healthy amount of caffeine per day before it kind of starts to affect your sleep and things like that. I think it's like the serving of an 8-ounce cup of coffee. I think it's 120 or... I'm messing that up. It's 120, I think, milligrams of caffeine per day. It's like an 8-ounce serving of coffee is like your recommended amount of caffeine per day. Mm-hmm. Some of those pre-workouts, and I got to say, I'm guilty of this. I'm absolutely guilty of this. But some of these pre-workouts, they're 300 in a scoop. And you're having 2 cups of coffee, big scoop of pre-workout during the day, and then, struggling to sleep at night, things like that. So risk reward benefit on that. Is your nutrition in check? Are you sleeping well? Why are you feeling tired going into a workout? Is there other things that we can adjust without going out and buying a supplement or getting more chemicals and bad things from that supplement, or causing us to sleep not as well, or even worse, because we're utilizing that to get a little boost before a workout. So
I'd say listen to your body too, because if you're talking pre-workouts, you may have used them before. So people's body react differently to them, and I'll just share with you some of my own experience. I've used those. I even currently have some that I do like, and it is just more of a caffeine driven, wake me up more than anything. People's stomachs are just different, right? And I'll say this: the cheaper the product, generally, there may be something that's less expensive out there that works really well for someone, but sometimes those things can really, like, imagine drinking it. Could you drink it and go run? Or could you drink it and get your heart rate up and your stomach still be good? Like, you have to kind of pay attention to how your body responds to some of those things. Some of this stuff is packed with some things like creatine and other things. Creatine is probably, it's been around for a long time, but people's bodies react to it. Some people get really flush and hot, and skin gets itchy. Like, you don't necessarily want that in, if you're trying to do Fran for the day. For me, I wouldn't want that, right? Like, my heart's rate's going to be up.
Overstimulated for sure. And we kind of had a talk on that. We've been working these long hours. back and forth, got up early in the morning, drove to Cookeville, feeling super tired. And I said, hey, Dave, have you had these Bang energy drinks, right? They're awesome. They taste really good. They're super clean. They don't have a bunch of chemicals in them and a nice little boost of caffeine. Well, one of those Bang energies is 300 milligrams of caffeine, like we talked about. And like I said, I'm really bad about this. I too much caffeine for sure. But you drank one of them, not used to it. We get into a workout a couple hours later, and I mean,
my heart rate had spiked so high just from, and again, it was doing it, and again, the workout kind of popped up a little earlier than what I thought was going to be there, and like we did a what I would say a very very low, short time domain.
I mean, it's a 21-15-9 couplet. I mean, snatches and pull-ups.
Snatches, pull-ups, just really a workout that sneaks up on you really quick in a room with some of the other L2 trainers there. And like it was, man, like I got up where, I could even feel like my blood pressure was a little higher for something like that. So that's one of those things is like when you've got control over those in a regular setting, you're going to the gym, I would say when you start, and I don't want to take up all your time here, man. I know we're getting close, but I would stay, if you're not used to those, start small. If you get something, and I'll just share this with anyone, if you get something and a scoop is a serving, just for an example, start with a quarter of a scoop or a half of a scoop of whatever you're going to try, and then test it out slowly and see how you feel.
Sure, absolutely. And we do have a little bit of time, and one thing I'd like to just kind of tie that into is supplementation period. And there might be this question out there is, do you recommend a pre-workout, post-workout, this, that, the other, any kind of supplementation at all? Should I take a carb shake right after my workout or anything like that? Bergeron talks to this piece really, really well when he talks about training athletes that go to the CrossFit Games. And he doesn't do any type of supplementation for these athletes that he's planning to take to the CrossFit Games until their body fat percentage is like below 16 for a female athlete and like below 11 for a male athlete. And only then when we're talking about performance, not about body composition, right? We're talking about what do we need to fuel our workouts and fuel this ridiculous volume of workouts that these types of, that these athletes do. So if you're like the rest of us and your body fat parameters are higher than that, your body composition, we need to talk first about what you're doing inside your nutrition, get that supremely dialed in, and then supplement if we have a deficiency or not getting enough fuel, or if we are vegetarian or vegan and have not getting enough protein or anything. Like there's 1,000 different ways to look at it, but 99% of the time we can get your nutrition in check, and that thought process of I need supplementation of this type or that type usually will just kind of go away.
Yeah. I like how he also puts it as, and how do you know when you're at that point? Typically, when people get abs and you can start seeing those come out, you're probably pretty close where you can start dialing in, how much protein do I need to be putting in to reach my goals, right? And your goals may not be to gain a lot more muscle mass. Maybe that's not part of it. So I think knowing that, I think is a great call out is, supplementation should match up with your goals and as well. I mean, not necessarily everybody needs to be downing 210, 20 grams of protein a day, right?
Sure. So, and that's the big thing is that, you can't really overdose on that type of stuff. So you can take it and you might see some benefit from it, but again, you're spending the money on it, you're spending the time on it, and really there's a lot of things that we need to fix and do better with our nutrition to start. And then talk about supplementation after. For sure. Cool. So those questions, thank you to everybody that reached out and asked those questions. Keep those questions coming. We'll make posts or, speak to any ones of those that we can. We'll answer those on the page. We'll make more posts similar to that, and keep those coming. We really appreciate it. And see you guys on the next one.
Yep. Thanks, guys.